Aw, well, you know what? At least stay in my room. Or my house. Fucking mud. Ay, ay, ay. Another morning strain in my room. Out and about. Fucking busier than it was yesterday, though. This way. Come on, boy. There. You sweet boy. Look at you. Ignore ticket. Dude, that's oh, fucking dog. Hey, get out of the road. I can't, like, tighten your leash, dude. It was Zukov doing that, by the way. Come on, pup. Silly dog. Squirrel. That's pretty baby. Train Zukov to used to it. Oh, dude, no. Hell no, bro. Well, actually, yes, but that was outside. It's grass. It's literally the whole field. What the hell? Oh. Yeah, it's a weekend. Correct climbers aren't in school. There's a kid yelling through a fence. The house with the epic garden. Pesticide free zone, oh hell yeah. We also trained dog to use a flush toilet, so I don't have to take him outside. Well, I mean, yeah, that'd be dope, but Zukov is a smart boy, but he's not that smart. Our dogs are smart like that, though, so. Mom problems with car, mom solutions, yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. But, you know, dogs aren't totally modernized, unlike us. That's the street? Nope, not yet. Okay. Cross around him, puppy. Nope, no squirrel. Walking to the property. Alright, buddy. There you go. Oh. So, final update. It's fixed. It has been solved. Like if you pop this sucker open, you can actually see through in there. And it's not just smirked. Our sewer issue, it has been fixed. Yay! Come on, puppy. Come on, boy. Come on, Zooks. What the hell? Whoa, this is weird. What the hell is this weird funky ooze? Some ooze, dude. What is this? What the hell? Is this like sap? Oh wait, no, it's also over here. What the hell? Did a squirrel puke or something? The fuck? Weird. Could not tell you what that was. I really don't know, but it looks weird. Weird, gross, and flannel. Also, apparently it's not traditional from the lower Barry Castle. Everyone's there, so they did that while we watched. Yeah, it varies from what I understand. Like, it differs, from, like, culture to culture, all in all. Like, some do the burial, and some, don't. I think it's hot today. Well, I mean, I kind of am literally, dude. I am fucking sweating. Just walking around out there for... Alright, I'm done wearing the leather jacket. Like, alright, no more... It's... Leather jacket weather is gone. I'm done wearing those. Because I am fucking hot sweating. Apparently it's offensive enough to step through steady walk to the car. That was the excuse. Fucking bullshit, dude. Oh my god. Don't even get me started if that scumbag. Don't even get me started. Like, I'm not even kidding, dude. But I saw Paul on his phone type. Yeah, of course. Because, I mean, what the fuck else do you expect? He just wanted to not be there. He never wanted to be there in the first place. So, of course, he's just gonna walk out and just, like, fucking dip. I mean, dude's a fucking, like... I mean... Dude's like a fucking parasite, dude. I mean, frankly, like... Dogs merit more fucking respect. I mean, it's just like, cause all in all... Dude, when I went to that fucking wake for my coworker and shit... Like... And that's different from a funeral. That's like, like, you're seeing him one more time and shit before you, before the official funeral. And, yeah, that shit was, kind of uncomfortable in a sense, just because it's like, fuck, so especially for me, because I've never seen a dead body before, like that. And it's odd, it's weird. And also knowing that, like, he was, like, one of my friends, coworker of mine, all that shit, like, do you think I necessarily want to be there for as long as I was? Because I was in there for what felt like an eternity, dude. Probably was only in there for, like, maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like fucking an hour or so. Like, so, I mean, for me, it's just like, even though it is, like, for me, I, was still there, because he's still my friend. I still give a shit about it, because I cared about the guy. Despite whatever my personal, like, emotional feelings were at the time, at least when it comes to just myself. Because it's not supposed to be about you, Well, not necessarily. I mean, I guess in some way, like, tangentially. Bro, that kind of considered a big boy. Born 2010. From never considered that. Well, dude, you had a whole entire fucking life ahead of him, dude. His life didn't even start. Honestly, like, I mean, he never really had a fucking life to live yet. It's like, he never really had a chance. I guess, he didn't see one. Even though there was. But still, like, I don't know, man. It's fucked. And what your stepdad did, like, that shit's honestly pissed me off. Well, because some kids couldn't leave him alone. And honestly, I guarantee you it's over because of the fact that he was just like a weird, quirky kid who's gay. I guarantee you it was just because of shit like that. I don't mean to be emotional. No, it's fine, dude. It's okay. I mean, dude, I'm gonna go to a funeral next Saturday myself for another coworker that, a while back I found out died of stomach cancer. like, I knew that he was sick and was on medical leave for a while, but I didn't realize that what it all was up until, like, a week after he passed. One of my coworkers from my department told me about it. And that was after I got sick, and I was recovering. I showed up at, like, noon or something. I was like, hey, you know, what's up, guys? Just want to let you know I'm feeling better, blah, blah, blah. And then that news was dropped on me. I was like, fuck, what? So it's just like, dude, I mean, like, the latest shit that I've been going to has basically just been, you know, with, like, you know, my friends, you know, from work at this point, dude. It's like, fuck. It's like, Jesus, man. Like, you know, honestly, like, I'm, you know, kind of going through a little bit myself just because it's like, you know, people keep dying over here. It's like, Jesus. You would wear booty shorts to a funeral? Your cousin did that? That does seem a little like, you know, tasteless. I mean, like, honestly, it's not really like, you know, out of sexism. It's just out of, like, respect, you know? It's like, out of all the places you could be wearing some booty shorts, a fucking funeral, man. I mean, come on, girl. Like, why are you doing that? Don't, seriously, literally, like, after the funeral, take off the funeral shit, put on your booty shorts. There you go. Like, I mean, don't wear them to a funeral. Like, that's not really respectful. I mean, come on. Like, I understand if you don't necessarily have, like, you know, proper, like, funeral attire, so to speak, but, like, you know, just wear your nicest stuff, you know, and shit, you know? Like, don't wear fucking booty shorts. Like, that's just not respectful, in my opinion. I mean, it's a funeral. Like, that's, like, the one area where there should be, like, a element of respect like that.
So you probably should have used the dryer until Harley fixes the fucking vent.
What about the vent?
Harley took the dryer vent apart.
Huh? Oh my god.
So
well, I'll let him know about that. Jesus Christ. Well, I didn't know he did that. God damn it. Well, alright. Fucking hell. Hold on. Hey, motherfucker. Oh, you know, I also forgot my goddamn Bluetooth and charger. Let me go to my room and grab that. Wore full-on business suit and a cowboy hat. I mean, better than nothing, I guess. I mean, honestly, you know, like, for as much of a shitbag as he is, that's a little bit more, quote, respectful than booty shorts. A cowboy hat's just going too fucking far, though. Like, I mean, calm down. It's like, chill the fuck out. You're not trying, you ain't pressing no button. You know what I mean? Like, the cowboy hat's just a little too far. Get him, Papa. Go, ba bam bam ba da. Ba 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 ba. Well, either way, like I said, I mean, at least, you know, like, it was still at least good for you, you know, you and everything, you know, and with everybody else, but just don't let that fucking scumbag get to you, dude, because honestly, like, you know, like, I definitely would say some pretty, crass things, you know, at least to you privately when I woke up. That's this bullshit about Jesus and how he was in heaven, blah, 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 please tithe. Oh, was it that shit? Oh my fucking god. I hate that so much. I mean, like, you really think, like, a kid like that, who probably was bullied by hardcore religious evangelicalism, you know, like, is going to be, like, oh, heaven, you know, like, with the same fucking people. Like, no. Definitely not. I almost said something about, but mom stepped on my foot right as I opened my mouth. Yeah, probably because she's like, don't. It's like, don't. I understand, but don't. I mean, again, you know, it's literally just out of, like, respect shit that, you know, just considering that it's a funeral. I mean, you know. Honestly, if it was literally any other instances, you know, like, or case, you know, where it's, like, not a funeral, but just, like, some regular old service or some shit, I wouldn't give a fuck. But, like, it's a funeral. Like, especially for, you know, like, pretty much for someone who didn't even fucking live a life. Never had a chance at really anything besides just, yeah, this is what the world looks like. Oh, by the way, guess what? It looks like shit. It's just like, wow, what a great thing for a kid to look up to, you know, growing up. Give pastor carte blanche to ask for money. Yeah, honestly, I would have fucked on that pastor personally after the fact. It's like, I think it was disrespectful and honestly an embarrassment of you and your church, you know, to be asking for money at a funeral. Like, shame on you. Like, you know, just, you know, after everything's all said and done, just like catch that guy and just say that and just dip. You know, just leave it at that and just walk away from him and be like, wait, what, and just be like, just caught off guard. Because honestly, you know, like for shit like that, that's all you really need. Found out how he did it. Well, oh, you know, it's, oh, fuck, man. Ugh. That's fucking brutal. Like, that really is, if you think about that. Which I don't want to. It's just like, but yeah, that's... Oof. I'll never say anyone who does that as a coward. Yeah. I can't do that. Dude, because, like, yeah. I'm not, yeah. I'm just gonna keep saying yeah at this point, because it's just like, oof. I mean, there's honestly, like, a specific, like, piece of, a little, sect of, Knights by Elie Wiesel that really kind of popped in my mind when you said that. Because there's, a scene where there was, like, you know, some hangings going on, and, of, like, some of the, you know, some of the Jewish, fucking prisoners there and shit. And, one of them happened to be a kid, you know, like, in his teens or some shit. And, honestly, the fucking vivid detail that Elie Wiesel went into that was enough to stick to you for a while. Like, shit in that book, frankly, sticks with you for a long time. There's, like, and I read that in 7th grade, and I still think about that book sometimes. And they let that be in fucking middle school. Had a white woman care a moment when she found out. What, she go off on the parents a little bit about that? Because frankly, honestly, I mean, it's not trying to victim blame, but there, you know, when I first found out, like, you know, yeah, it's just like, I mean, the fact that their parents didn't, like, you know, like, weren't paying enough close attention to their child to see if they were doing okay, you know, really, you know, does kind of say something about how they were, like, you know, raising that child, because, like, evidently, you know, they didn't give a shit enough. It's not like they probably never gave a shit, like, they probably did, but probably not enough. Probably not enough to realize, like, yeah, there's more to it than just, like, oh, make sure the kid's well fed and has a roof over their head and, like, happy. Because she apparently has several cases of that as a lawyer, I'm sure. And that was the median age for that, apparently, according to her. Really? I mean, honestly, considering that I have, well, at least one friend that I know is into shit like that, I mean, I wouldn't put it past me. I mean, honestly, like, it's not uncommon for people to accidentally kill themselves with things like that. Wasn't there, like, a whole South Park episode about that? where there was a Batman suit involved instead for some reason. But either way, like, I don't think a 13-year-old would be deep into perverted shit. You'd be surprised. Honestly, I feel like you'd be surprised. Like, I was just discovering porn at that age. I mean, I kind of was too, but at the same time, like, even for me, I was, like, realizing I like more than just, like, vanilla stuff. I like being kinky. Like, you know, but I didn't know quite what yet. I just knew I did. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, you'd be surprised, I think. Like, a kid might, you know, like, because when puberty's hitting you like that, you're not gonna know what's, like, you're into and stuff, you know, especially when hormones are raging for you, jerk yourself. I mean, look, I'm not into that stuff. I don't fucking know why people are, you know, into it or why, you know, but I know there's at least a couple variables, and, like, at least in some parts, I do know that there is an element to where, you know, there are some variables that I do know, at least, that, you know, play along with, like, the idea of, you know, like, being on the edge of death, so to speak, or, like, having an adrenaline rush of, like, oh, this could maybe, you know, kill me or something. There's, like, you know, kind of, like, the adrenaline junkie aspect of it for some people. There's, like, you know, sometimes a more deeper psychological impact thing, you know, maybe a sense of trauma, and, like, and then that, you know, kind of carries on in this form. Like, I mean, there's honestly a lot of other ways that, you know, could play a role as to why someone's into things like that. I mean, just like any, you know, fetish or anything, you know, like, you know, sexually. Like, there's always at least some variable as to why. Sometimes just because they're into it, but, you know, just simply on the virtue that they just simply like it, you know, but chances are it's due to some sort of, like, you know, psychological, you know, backing to it, you know, due to something, you know, in their upbringing or in their past. It's just strange to me, and a bullying angle makes way more sense to me. I think it does, personally, but, again, like, considering that your mom did pop up the whole, like, autoerotic asphyxiation shit, that also might potentially also be a thing. Like, maybe he was, like, struggling with suicidality, but also with all these hormones raging through him, maybe it, like overlapped psychologically in his head. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fucking psychologist. I ain't gonna fucking make, you know, predictions about it, but all we know is that how he did it, and that's it. And we only know that, you know, a few variables, and one of them is that he was bullied to shit, and he came out as gay not too long before he did it. So that's about it. And honestly, I feel like I could infer that there was more about that, more so than just a kink. So I do kind of overall agree with you, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's impossible or not totally implausible. And in fact, maybe that could have been why, but but at the same time, he was still struggling with all these other things, you know, including suicidality. So it's not like, you know, it might not have played a role. Could have, but I mean, either way, it shouldn't have happened. Those parents should have been able to, like, you know, been a little bit more, you know, like, trying to take awareness of a kid, especially if they're being bullied to shit at school. Like, that's a red flag to be like, hey, I need to, like, you know, be looking up about my kid and, you know, their mental health and make sure they're okay, like, and make sure things are fine at school, and actually kind of starting to take action a little bit. Like, I mean, when it comes to a kid being bullied like that, like, that's an element where a parent needs to start being involved into their life a little more. Because at that point, a kid could be at risk, like your cousin. Like it says, I'd like the victim play, because obviously it's still fucked up. And it's really not inherently their fault either. Really, it's the kids that fucking bullied them, as far as I'm concerned. They're the ones who fucking, you know, killed them. Because bullying does kill. Like, it really does. Like, you know, like, I mean, there's been so many fucking instances of, like, you know, of kids being harassed and killing themselves directly because of bullying. And literally because of that, strictly. And I think there's only been a couple instances where cases have been so severe the bullies actually do get, like, criminal penalties. Which, frankly, honestly, to a certain extent, depending on how severe the shit gets, you know, like when it comes to bullying, maybe that needs to be the case. And also just more direct involvement in, you know, with students and shit. Like, because, you know, at least when it comes to this variable in a vacuum, because, like, it's bad. Like, honestly, a lot of the shit that I see, like, on things like public freakouts about, like, high schoolers and middle schoolers going on fucking basically, like, the equivalent of, like, lynch mobs over a kid, it is, like, fucking psycho. Like, I never dealt with shit like this. And I was bullied immensely in 7th grade to the point of near suicidality. And I never dealt with shit like what kids are going through now. It's like fucking, like, literally like Lord of the Flies, pretty much. It's like, where in the fuck is going on in, like, some of these schools, dude? Like, what the fuck? It's not just like our education system in itself is all fucked. It's like literally the whole logistics and the whole system of, like, how it's, like, set up is all just fucked. It's like the whole thing's fucked. It's just like, what the fuck are we doing with that? Because how many kids, you know, could actually, like, you know, have an opportunity in a fucking life possibly because they, you know, they didn't cut it off so short because of shit like this? Or end up in a, you know, same reciprocal cycle in the fucking prison system because they had no opportunity because they dropped out because the fucking school system failed them. I can't say here. I mean, I, you know, used to in a lot of ways, and in some instances I still do. Like, I'm not going to disagree with you with this, especially being a victim of it myself. And honestly, even being a perpetrator of it to an extent as well. Like, I mean, you know, in the past, you know, so it's just like, and honestly, like, you know, there's definitely a lot of things, you know, that are appropriate about addressing bullies, I think, including, you know, some more harsh discipline, but at the same time, there's, you know, a plethora of many ways that are just not appropriate with dealing with it, and it makes the situation very worse. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag, and it's nuanced, but at the same time, there definitely, like, there needs to be, like, a rethinking about what the fuck we're doing with this, like, honestly. And I think a lot of it is just rooted down to the socioeconomic conditions and mental health, and the fact that we just do not fucking pay attention to that whatsoever in this country, or at least nowhere near enough. It's insane. And I'm just saying that broadly, like, just entirely, not just with, you know, education in itself, because that's a problem across the board. I tell them I want a bunch of defense skills, even if school does. Oh, absolutely. Like, if I had a kid and they fought back against a bully, I'd reward them with that. It's like, hey, I see you got beaten up. Did you beat the fucking bully up back? Yeah. Did you get him more blood to your nose? Yeah. That a boy. You know, that's what I do. I mean, because, like, yeah, like, you should be able to have the right to fight back and defend yourself and shit like that. I just grew up, you know, thinking that's, you know, not a bad thing, and frankly, it isn't. You shouldn't be able, like, you should absolutely have the right to, you know, defend yourself with shit like that, even if you're a kid. Even if the school is like, hey, you know, we're suspending both of you. You know, honestly, maybe I think that would be okay. You know, I don't necessarily think that's unfair, so to speak. I would just have the person who fought back just be suspended for that day, and then, you know, the bully suspended for the week. You know, make it fair. You know, it's like, yeah, here, we'll let you be home, you know, so you can kind of, you know, clean yourself up and cool down and chill out for the day so you're not all tensed up and angsty after getting in a fight at school. Like, that's not going to be good for their mental health, you know? So it's more, if anything, send them home for the day just to make sure they're okay, more so than, like, you know, punishing them. It's like, hey, just for your own mental health case, just because you just went through this, you know, we don't want you, like, having to try to learn and have this on the back of your mind, so we'll send you home for today, let you chill out for a little bit, and you can come back tomorrow and things will be all good. And we'll let your you know, teachers know, and they'll be able to like email, you know, the, you know, papers or whatever the fuck that you need, you know, to the parents, or we'll have them send you some copies to you, or whatever the fuck. Like, there could be something, you know, dealt with in that way, and I think that could be fair. Unless the student feels like, no, it's okay, I can, you know, go to class, I'll be fine, I can brush it off. Like, you know, unless the student says otherwise that they could be okay, then they don't need it. But, you know, if they feel like, yeah, you know, maybe, yeah, I think it'll be okay for me to be home for the rest of the day, then, you know, let them. I think that's okay. At least for the kid who defends himself, and especially if there's multiple witnesses saying, yeah, that kid defended himself, then, yeah, let them have the option to be like, do you want to go home for the rest of the day, or do you feel like you're okay to stay here? Yeah, I think that's okay. So it's not like a suspension, more of just like, you know, you still okay? Yeah, it's like, you feel like you can still be alright and, you know, learn here? Or if not, then, you know, just go home for the day and then come back tomorrow and, you know, fresh body, fresh mind, new day, you know, all that shit. I think that's fair. But for the bully, yeah, they get suspended for a fucking week or more. honestly, depending on how bad, you know, it is. Like, depending on how severe the case is, like, you know, that fucker will, at minimum, will at least be a week. It's not like they won't be just cut off. They will still have to, like, do a Zoom call with the teacher, you know, to, like, you know, make sure that they're, you know, still learning and getting their education and shit, and then blah, blah, blah. Like, I think there needs to be a system in place, you know, for shit like that. Because, you know, like, all in all, like, there definitely needs to, like, be a better way to address this type of shit, and where it isn't just strictly a punishment to students, where they still get that, but they're still at least, you know, being rehabilitated and are at least still learning in the education system. Like, there needs to be a far better approach of this fucking shit. And frankly, an expansion of teachers and, like, specialized social workers dedicated to the education system on this field. Like, that needs to be the case. Just, it's a necessity. Dad got banned from high school when he threatened the principal after the VP touched his sister's butt. He almost got arrested when he came back 3 years later, and I got ISS for punching a kid who still took boots. Punched principal that time. Same principal both times. Based. Based dad. Man, your dad's, like, you know, despite, like, some of his homophobic tendencies that you mention occasionally, like, he does sound pretty based. He's a district supervisor? Oh my god, the fucking nepotistic, sleazy freakball scum, bro. Dude, these motherfuckers always fail upwards. What the fuck, man? Yes, this is indeed a... Yes, Alabama is a state. The United States is indeed a country. You are not hallucinating. Oregon is indeed a state. I am not hallucinating. Sexual rumors still fly? Of course they do. Touching fucking, like, underage kids and shit, and fucking, like, you know, harassing, you know, female employees. Like, wow, go fucking figures.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that those rumors are still flying around? Color me shocked. Dude, like, what? It's just like Alabama, just like the most morally bankrupt state. It's ranked second in the state. Oh my god, wow. Well, you can't argue with without. And behind some school in Montgomery. Wow. And where is Alabama as a state, you know, ranked when it comes to education here? Oh, probably the lower half of the fucking states, right? Yeah, probably. That's not saying much anyway, but but, you know, whatever. I mean, if you really think about it, that shit really isn't saying much. America's education across the board, unless it's like some private yuppie fucking school, is just trash. It shouldn't have to be, though, but it is. There was a Republican NIMBY white rich person town. Yep. Because, of course it is. The school gets hella property taxes. You know, that's just fucked up, like, how schools get funding. See, that's honestly another problem with our education system, is how it gets fucking funding. It's like, oh yeah, you get, like, high property taxes because you live in a rich neighborhood and shit? Well, guess what? That funds your schools. Like, huh? It's like, I get that. Like, there should be at least, like, a base level property tax, you know, I think, you know, to at least have a baseline for the school. I mean, I'm not, like, entirely against that. But this idea that, like, oh, like, that's essentially, like, the main way, you know, like, a school gets funding is ridiculous. Especially when it comes to the fact that, like, a lot of poor neighborhoods, you know, don't get a lot of income. And thus, the school will not get a lot of funding. That's a problem. Like, I mean, that shouldn't, like, that needs to be a major fucking, like, addressal. Like, a school can't just be, you know, sustained off of that. Because so many schools suffer because of this. This is the reason why, this is, I think, you know, one of the biggest reasons why our school system is so fucked up in this country. It's because of our backwards way of how schools get funded. And that's already on top of the fact that Republicans are trying to destroy education fundamentally, so homeschool and private theocratic indoctrination centers are the only way you can get schooling at, essentially. So it's just like, I mean, it's, just even with that, taken out of the equation, it's already fucked up. So it's just like, It's just like, dude, you didn't know a black person was 20? I mean, and that's just kind of the fucked up shit about it. Like, I mean, like, these schools shouldn't be just, like, isolated based off of, like, property taxes. Frankly, it needs to be, like, these schools need to be funded, at least in some elements, federally. I think, honestly, the baseline should be covered by the feds, when it comes to, like, at least, when it comes to, like, hey, a school, at least at minimal, in this area, needs this amount of money to function. The feds can cover that, and then everything else when it comes to all the other necessities and specificities and, like, the actual, like, on-the-ground logistics and, like, expansions of the school, things like that, get funded via state, and funded via county and citywide. Like, and not, based off of, like, some fucking neighborhood. It needs to be, entirely. It needs to be a lot more collectivized instead of just, like, based off neighborhood by neighborhood or school district by school district. And even then, like, in my school district, there are, technically 5 schools. At least 5 high schools. I don't even want to name them. But, just because of, that. I mean, it's not like I'm, like, saying where I'm at. This is literally an entire district. I mean, these schools are literally all over the place. So it's not like I'm not, just as, privacy's sake. But there's at least 5. There's one I went to, and then there's the 2 other main ones. So there's 3 main high schools. And then there was a alternative high school. So there was a 4th. And then there was a collective school that was like a trade school for elective classes that all these schools can participate in. So kids could take elective classes at this trade school, and I took some classes there, which were fucking amazing. And, they all take buses to go to this place. I'll name that. That was called Salem-Schellenberg, and it's one of the few districts in the country that has something like this. Like, so it's, like, for what I'll say, it's like, that's why I'll name that, because it's like one of the few that, like, we have a privilege of having, and it's like very blue collar and very working class, like, type of school. Because it's like, hey, here's some trade jobs and opportunities, to get into these type of trades, or at least learn how to get into these type of fields if you're interested in it. And it had all sorts of shit, all sorts of stuff. But however, like, the school district still suffered. That alternative high school I talked about, horribly underfunded. Horribly. My high school, like, it was funded, but the administration was partially corrupt. They only gave a fuck about, like, the sports side of things. So they always were trying to fund sports. Art and music and theater always were being cut, or at least, maintained to the point to where they could barely really maintain that shit. Like, those teachers always had to pay for their own shit, while, our fucking, coaches were always getting new gear and shit. Like, and a lot of, and before the high schools built up, mainly because of state funding and shit, and mainly because of things like the marijuana taxes that we're able to have due to legalization of marijuana that the Oregon voters voted in, were able to get a new high school. But before that, dude, that school literally was fucking hot as balls. You would literally be, like, overheating like you're in a fucking sauna during the spring and summertime and shit, or at least just before summertime, before school's down. Like, during the fall and winter, sometimes the fucking first floor would flood. Like, I mean, it was, there was a lot of problems with that fucking building. And, like, and none of the funding went into maintaining any of that shit. Like, I mean, it was, like, corrupt as fuck. And it was just, like, bad, honestly. And I think, honestly, now thinking about it, I feel like there was probably a little collusion, at least when it came to the Starlight Parade, because I've talked about this before. Like, when it came to sophomore year, when we were supposed to qualify for the marching band shit, like, they disqualified us because we were literally too good. And it was just like, huh? Like, I was just like, what the fuck? Curious what I asked about voting for abortion in Arizona. Yeah, you should. Like, because that's something that the Arizonan voters are voting for. And you really think that, like, that doesn't count? Because it fucking does. You think, lefties in Kansas were that thought the same thing who ended up doing it? I thought, oh, that didn't mean anything, because it did. Kansas, fucking far right. It's a right-wing state. Republicans, fuck. And when they had abortion on the ballot to actually stay on the legislature and the law, they passed that. They're like, no, we're keeping this as a fucking law. You're not taking our rights away. We're keeping this shit. Even Republican women were voting in favor to keep abortion rights. You really think Arizona's going to do the same fucking thing where it's nowhere near as right-wing as fucking Kansas? Bull fuck, dude. It's a right-wing state. Again, bull fuck. Like, I'm not gonna say that it ain't right-wing, but, as right-wing as you think, People misunderstood the battle in Kansas, mainly because the right-wing GOP in the state Republicans, fucked up by their own hubris. If you remember some of the details from it, they were trying to do a fucking, PSYOP campaign by trying to, say that the actual abortion rights, voting no was actually to protect it instead of the opposite. Like, they were trying to literally do a PSYOP campaign, for abortion. Well, the idea was to say, hey, voting against abortion is actually for abortion. That was their whole psychological operation. But it failed. It literally caused more people to, be like, huh, and confused, and actually look into it and realize, oh, no, this is actually for abortion, not this. And there were even some, conservatives who were too stupid to look into it, who thought, oh, voting against this, against abortion is actually for abortion, so I'm going to vote for it. That was their hubris. But at the end of the day, do you think, even if that didn't happen, do you really think that really played a role whether that was going to pass or not? Because no, it didn't. Abortion was already overwhelmingly in favor in that state already. So, the Republicans, in an attempt to try to, change the game a little bit in their favor, fucked up immensely because they're not smart. Arizona's mostly old white people and Mexicans, like Florida, but with Mexicans instead of Cubans. I mean, when I was in Phoenix, outside of Phoenix and stuff, yeah, it kind of was. But honestly, Arizona's not all like that. And honestly, the more rural you go, the more likely it is just going to be like that. But if you're in, Flagstaff or, some sort of, a little small town or any in the actual cities and shit, I mean, even in Phoenix, outside of Phoenix, a little bit, sure, depending on where you're at. Old white people tend to vote right. Old white men, especially, yes. Older white women tend to be a little bit more mixed when it comes to voting demographic. Not super blended or mixed. And Mexicans tend to be socially conservative. And that's not 100% as accurate as it used to be. A lot of Hispanic people and Latinos that are younger, the younger they are, the more socially liberal or left they are. And that's just kind of across the board. A lot of people, that are younger tend to just be more left-leaning, especially socially. Whether they're Hispanic, white, or whatever else in between. And the same goes for Hispanics, and when it comes to that whole very family communal culture that's pretty predominant, which it's not just in Hispanic culture that's predominant there, but all sorts of cultures have this type of idea about being family and communal. But considering that, though, they have a lot of kids. And you think a lot of those young kids are just all strictly socially conservative like Republicans? Fuck no, they're not. Honestly, a lot of Hispanics and Latino people I meet, that are especially younger, are flaming lefties, on one way or another. They're either at least progressive rad libs, or they're just straight up hardcore anarcho fucking lefty types into fucking heavy metal, long ass hair, wearing leather and shit, don't give a fuck. That's usually what I, see, in a lot of ways, at least the people I meet. So, I mean, and I've only met, 2 Hispanic people who are genuinely socially conservative, racist types. One of them was my friend's former roommate, and he was legit just a fucking anti-white scumbag. He was just legit, just, basically a, the equivalent of, a white racist type, but just Hispanic, and, Latino supremacy and shit, thinking that they're the true, real race and people and shit. It's just more racist garbage.
Hispanics are half white anyhow.
That's also, well, yeah, that's also kind of the fucking thing, too. Like, I mean, yeah, the guy that I'm talking about, he had also an Irish mom. So he was probably, like, more white than Hispanic, but he, like, for some stupid, retarded reason, just hated that about himself. And just was, like... Yeah, racists are retarded. Like, it's just, like, honestly, that's just what it is. It's like, people who are racist as fuck like that are just stupid as shit.
I'm only racist against assholes. I don't like assholes.
Well, that's fair, because I'm the same way. I don't like assholes. That's almost basically being like, I'm racist against everybody, but it's just strictly assholes. And everybody can be an asshole. Egalitarianism, baby. Wait, what? Seems to be wanting us out ASAP, and it's actually doing the work required to get us out. You sign all the paperwork and talk to the bank later in the month to get appraisal started. Hardcore gangbanger old man who does work for the cartel, same as stepdad, but definitely more badass IMO. He sounds more badass. See, that guy sounds like legit a dude I'd probably smoke a fat blunt with. I probably wouldn't necessarily get too, comfy with him, but I would be like, I'd be, curious to hear what stories he's willing to share. I wouldn't get too, deep about certain stories, be like, I don't want to pry too much, but dude, he's got some pretty fucking crazy stories. And probably an interesting worldview, Dude is unhinged as fuck. I wouldn't do anything with him outside of business. Never mind. Never mind. You kind of have to... Jesus Christ. Well, you had to put that out there, motherfucker. Well, I guess I am right about one thing. He would definitely have an interesting worldview. That's probably ever-changing. He put a gun in my head and asked, how do you feel about working for the Sonora Cartel? Made $300, though. Oh my god. Well, but I was terrified to do any more work for him. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's not exactly how you win an employee, you know what I'm saying? That's not exactly how you get somebody hired for a job. I mean, even if there's the implied, like, threat involved, it's like, you don't gotta do that. It's like, hey, man, how you think about making $300, for the Sonora Cartel, they say? And you won't do that, man? It's like, but if you fuck up, though, just letting you know, I want to be good for you. But just saying, if it ain't that hard, though. All you have to do is just sell some stuff, bro. Pretty simple. And don't snitch. The other dude I talked to just said that's how he is. And how he warns people. Is he Voss from Far Cry 3? Is he like the real life Voss from Far Cry 3? Is that who he is? No. He sounds like it. Unhinged. Pointing gun people's heads. It's like, how do you feel like working for me? Crazy shit like that. Probably like secretly like, just burying people in rivers. If you... I'll legit describe... No, you're good. I mean... okay, mate, I don't know. You got me curious now. Still know it after all these years, Lamau. Well, I'm probably not going to be able to access it because I don't use Facebook at all, but, I mean, you got me curious. I will admit, now I'm curious. You got me curious. Shit. Man, this is what happens to cats. They get curious and then they die. Oh. There he is. Sleepy buddy. I may have had sex with his boss's daughter. But she was like 40 and horny drunk. You fucked a cartel's boss's daughter? And you say you have a boring life? Dude. Bruh. I wouldn't be, like, flexing that story often. But, like, I mean, that's a story to tell. Yeah, like, you know, I had a crazy unhinged, crazy guy who worked for the Sonoma cartel, you know, ask if I want to work for him, so I did, scared for my life because he had a gun to my head. Or, you know, later down the line, you know, here and there, something happened, I, you know, hooked up with his boss's daughter, had a three-way with her. I mean, that's a fucking story, dude. I mean, you could add a little extra elaborations here and there, but, dude, you know. He was living with me at the time. He was introduced to me, everyone in that situation. Wish I never met Carl Lamau. Well, dude, you know, you got some crazy stories apparently with that son of a bitch. Carl! Yeah, I haven't even been playing a single fucking tune at all, man. I'll play a little bit before I go to work. Make sure it's not blaring out loud. There we go. Elena Inga's almost, I thought he was being a good person. Well, I mean, you were, but you know, I mean, it led up to some pretty interesting stories. It's pretty wacky ones at that. So, honestly, for what it's worth, I mean, I wouldn't be regretting it. I wouldn't be wishing you haven't met that motherfucker. I mean, yeah, because honestly, you gotta have, like, you know, some risky shit, you know, happen like that every now and then. Not, like, super risky, but, you know, just, like, enough to be, like, you know, to add a little extra pizzazz and a little extra, like, excitement to life. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to, like, a crazy protest and there's tear gas flying, fucking, like, cops, you know, like, charging you and shit, like, I mean, that type of excitement, or, like, fucking, you know, going out at night, wearing all black, spray painting some shit on the side of a building, you know, stuff like that, like, you know, some adrenaline shit. You need stuff like that. A little civil disobedience, a little extra spice to life and shit like that. You know, hooking up with a cartel chick and or the boss's daughter, you know, who's in the cartel and fucking, you know, have a three-way with her, you know, shit like that. But never learned his name. You're not going to learn boss's, like, dude, like, when it comes to cartel, frankly, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the names they did tell you are not real names. Being called S.A. Because that's his nickname. Because, honestly, especially when it comes to cartels, they don't go by their real names, usually. They always have, like, some sort of a nickname or a code name of a sorts. And even if they do have, like, a real name, chances are that's not their real name. Oddballs are. Because, like, you know, chill, dude, chill. I'm just saying. I mean, if you think about it, they're doing, like, shit where the government's probably trying to, like, you know, watch them. So they're not going to have, you know, so whatever, like, liability of them being likely cracked down on, they're going to try to eliminate. In a sense of, like, minimalizing, you know, that type of shit. I should have told him I don't know anyone to sell to. Well, no, I mean, the dude was chill. Oh, well, the way you just said chill, dude, I thought, like, you meant me. So I was like, well, jeez, what am I doing? What am I doing, man? What the fuck? But, yeah, I mean, this, like, not every cartel boss is gonna be, like, a fucking unhinged weirdo. Like, a lot of them are probably going to be usually chill, but the ones that, you know, everyone knows about are the fucking unhinged crazy ones. Like, I mean, but if you think about how expansive these cartels are, there's a lot of different bosses, so to speak, you know, on different levels. And, a lot of them usually try to keep a DL because, you know, they recognize there's already dudes who are fucking crazy, big poppin' fucking names that everyone's already fearful of. So, in a way, they don't even really have to do that because, like, that, you know, just being a part of a cartel that has those type of people in it is already enough to be like, oh shit. You know, just be like, oh fuck. You know, and just, you know, being like, uh-oh. You know, just like, this is a little, you know, not good. You know, like, I mean, you know, or at least in a sense of like, oh, I should at least make sure that, you know, I'm on my P's and Q's because this guy's a member of the group that has those freaky guys that I hear about all the time. You know, so, like, you know, even though that boss might be chill as fuck, I probably would never call those type of dudes up for whatever reason, frankly, because unless it's absolutely necessary for, you know, they're not going to. You know, they, you know, they're just gonna, you know, as long as things stay chill and level, they ain't gonna do fucking shit. They just want to make sure the money flows, that's all. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fucking business to them. I mean, honestly, that's the reason why they have, like, these fucking private armies, because it's all black market. Like, I mean, it's like they're having to deal with government, you know, cracking down on them because all that shit's prohibition-based and shit. And, you know, because they make so much fucking money, they can invest into, you know, basically funding their own armies, basically. And thus literally have, like, a criminal, like, basically a black market underground government, essentially. And they basically kind of have that in some places. Didn't try anything else with me besides try selling me weed, bargain based prices, and convince me until then they all took off, and I haven't heard of him since. Well, I mean, it was probably, if I had to take a guess, maybe just a hunch, probably because, you know, the daughter was probably missing family back home, and, you know, they thought, well, since we're not making much business over here anyway, we might as well just pick up, you know, shop and just head back to Mexico and, you know, think of, you know, what else to do with operations and go from there. Just a hunch. I mean, chances are that it just Occam's razor is probably it, but it could be any reason, I guess. Maybe, you know, they moved down there, then, you know, probably reset up shop in a more popular area in Alabama, like maybe Montgomery or something. Or Huntsville, so I don't know. I mean, you know, there could be any reason for that, but if I had to take a guess, it likely could have been business reasons, since it didn't seem like any. Oh, they came up to get her? Oh, wait, so she was running away? Huh. Okay, well, that actually is totally different then. So they literally all. So she wanted. No, so she was leaving? Okay, so she was trying to run away. So it's the exact opposite. Huh. Well, that actually kind of makes things different. Was her father not S.A.? S.A.'s boss was her father, not S.A. Well, okay. So, huh. She was probably just trying to maybe get away from the cartel life. That's probably what it sounded like. Maybe? I don't know. Like, now that adds a whole different flavor of things. It's like, huh. But, I mean, considering the three-way and all that shit, I mean, it doesn't sound like she was too concerned of them being there, so now I don't fucking know. Now you really made it a, you know, conundrum. Now it really is a mystery. Huh. Now, like, yeah, weird. Maybe she just wanted to, like, just be like, fuck it, I want to go, like, see America a little bit, and just happened to choose Alabama for some reason, because maybe it was cheap, or I don't know, like, I mean, now I'm just confused with that one. She's like, oh, you found me. Oh, yeah, I was just, you know, traveling. Okay, I guess I'll go back. It all started because CJ invited her over because they already knew each other. Well, that is just, huh. Weird. I will admit, now, I don't know the story behind that. Yeah, I mean, now, it really truly is a mystery now. Either way, that's why I say, you know, when it comes to the overall story, you might as well add a little of your own flair. I mean, at least when it comes to your best guess of, you know, the assumption when it comes to, like, some of the details you don't know. Because at the very least, like, I mean, you know, especially at least when it comes to, like, all the details. I do have a boring life. No, the fuck you don't, bro. Like, dude, the fact that you have this, like, crazy little, like, thing about the cartel and shit, I mean, look at the, you know, the conversation we've just been having for, like, the last 20 minutes, dude. Or, like, the last, like, 15 or something. Like, I mean, come on, dude. Really? Like, I mean, I just got, like, what? You know, I was like, what the fuck? You know, and just suddenly got, like, super enthralled and shit. Like, how in the fuck is that boring? Like, dude. You got a little bit more, like, pizzazz in your life than you think. Like, I think you really undermine, like, you know, some of the excitement that, you know, happens. It might be, like, it might just, like, kind of pop more, like, you know, sporadically, but, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's there. It's not like it's not there. $400 a pound? God damn! Fuck. That should really ain't that bad at all. Holy yeah, for cartel prices, that really isn't terrible. I mean, it's not like cheap, you know, like, but for a pound though, that's fair. You know, so like, cause usually, you know, cartels try to sell that shit like 5, 6, 7 plus a pound or something like that. I mean, so, but they expect you to exclusively like 400 something a pound. Like, I mean, dude, that will set me up for a long time. It's kind of like, I mean, I would shop with them, but it'd be a while before I come back because I got so much damn weed. It's kind of like, I mean, you know, like, hey, I'll come back, but I'll be back in like a couple months. So I'll hit you up when I do. But, I mean, you know, whatever. I mean, why do you think I go to the dispensary? Because, hey, they got deals. You know, like, ounces for like 70s. So I said no. Well, yeah, if you don't got anyone to sell to or just no real true way to sell, especially enough of it in a time frame that they want, then yeah, you know, it's just better to be honest, be like, hey, you know, I appreciate the offer, but unfortunately I don't have a way to, you know, sell all of it, or, you know, and wouldn't have, you know, a lot of people to sell to outside of maybe a couple friends. So appreciate the offer, but no, you know, I'll have to decline. Because honestly, if you're just blunt and honest with that, you know, then, you know, and from what you were saying earlier, it's like, you know, he was saying it's like, appreciate the honesty and was being chill about it. And honestly, like I said, like, most, like, bosses, you know, are going to be like that. They're just going to be like, hey, as long as you're honest with me about it, it's chill. Don't try to, like, you know, beat around the bush with me. I like just bluntness. Patted me on the shoulder. Yeah. Which shows that he appreciates that instead of being like, oh, sure, and then you try to, and then panic and be like, oh, give me time. You know, he's not going to like that. He'd rather just, you know, just not deal with it. It's 19, Lamau. Well, that's also, you know, either way, smart move, especially for your part. But, anyway. Gotta head off to work here in a little bit, so do like 30 something. Oh my god. Probably was. But gonna get this fat bowl cashed out and then be back later tonight. Okay, I would if it was not fucking clogged. Well, not super clogged, but there we go. Sit and spin. Baby, rah, rah, baby, rah, rah. Anyway, I should call it good for now. But of course, be back after shift. So, peace out. Now I'll see you all in that next one. So, toodaloo.